California, with so many resources right on their coast there, not have the resources of water, which all they have to do is build a few plants that can take the salt out. Why wouldn't they have the resources to do that?
Because they're more concerned about the illegals. They want to give illegals free stuff, and that's basically, and I don't mean that in a prejudiced way. I mean that literally is what is happening. There's so many things going on that they refuse to put money in the infrastructure of the state, and instead just support people that come into the state. And it's like, that's ridiculous. It wouldn't cost, really, comparatively to anything else, it wouldn't cost that much to build a couple of plants over in the Bay Area, of California, to shove water into the Central Valley. But they don't want to do that because now LA's going, well, we don't want to give water to Central Valley or to Northern California. And so they're in this whole, limitation or rationing of water as well. But and the other story as a side note is that a politician there proposed splitting the state into 3 separate states, and that's like ridiculous. So I don't think they should do that.
Didn't they just recently pass laws that where illegals can now get free health care?
Yep. And free driver's license, or not, free driver license, but yeah, they can do whatever they want, basically.
What I'm seeing with California, it resembles what was going on right before the Civil War. They're positioning themselves very much like the southern states were positioning themselves, and even though the idea was to end slavery back then, what they're doing, it's the illegal aliens that's the trigger right there. If we continue to have an administration like Trump's, which we're going to get about another 6 months of hopefully some kind of positive legislation out of him before he goes back into campaign mode, and then we're not going to get anything done for that year and a half after that because and if we do, it's just going to be frosting on the cake so he can try to get elected. Although now I'm mixing topics here, I just don't think the Democrats have anybody worthy of beating Trump, and that's just a sorry state of things in its own right.
Yeah, that's true. And I just, I look at California as being a trigger point for this next election because there's a lot of things happening and in California and also in Nevada. Nevada's the next door neighbor. There's a lot of things that Governor Brian Sandoval is starting to look at, but yet the people of, I used to live in Nevada as well, and some of the people of Nevada are saying, well, wait a minute, we're not California, but apparently Governor Sandoval doesn't care. He's going to do whatever he wants, and he has in the past. And so that whole region over there is like you said, it's like the Civil War. They're gathering all this, all this time and all this money and the resources that they have to just tell the rest of the United States, go screw yourself. We're going to secede from the nation. I doubt legally they can do that. There has to be some sort of constitutional amendment for them to do that. But it's just a major pain over there right now because apparently Governor Brown is not going to run for re-election, so Gavin Newsom is in line to be governor, which he's like 10 times worse than Governor Brown. So obviously things are not going to look good for the next administration in California.
Since I brought up Trump, what do you think because do you agree with me, one, that he's got about 6 months more to get anything done before he goes back into re-election mode? And what are the things you think are actually going to happen? Because we still haven't seen Obamacare eliminated. All we've seen was the mandate, and that can be rewritten in the next tax bill because they didn't get rid of it. And to be honest, the great tax cuts that they were lauding just back in December, all they really did was help out the corporations, and they didn't help out the individuals at all. So, we keep hearing there's another tax cut coming. What do you think is going to happen here?
Well, in my opinion, and this is just me, I think that in the long term, if things go the way they are and people continue to support President Trump, he will be reelected in 2020. If things continue the way they are. Now, in the next 6 months, he's got a lot on his plate to deal with. He's got Iran to deal with. He's got Putin to deal with. He's got China to deal with. He's got North Korea to deal with. So I think after all of that, I think he'll sit down and before going into campaign mode, I think what he'll do is just sign off on a lot of that stuff like a businessman does. He just takes it all in, looks at it all, and says and reviews it, and says, okay, this, and this will pass, and this, and this we won't. And I think that's what he'll do. He's probably getting all his ducks in a row before he goes back into campaign mode.
Yeah, but I mean, you got to get the Republicans in the House and the Senate to follow suit, and It doesn't look like he's fighting the rhinos and the deep state Republicans as well as the Democrats. So when you're talking about people who actually support him in the government, in the legislation, that is, it's a handful of people.
Yeah, it is. And unfortunately, going and this again from what I've seen, and this is this is what I've seen, so I'm just going to base it on what I've known in the last several months. Since you've got the rhinos and the like I call the dinos, the Democrats in name only, and you have the deep state and shadow government people, operatives trying to fight and push Trump back and not allow him to do what he has to do. I think within that time frame, the next 6 months up to re-election mode, he's going to have a fight on his hands. And I think that more and more, because of the pressure of going into campaign mode, I think he's going to, sit back and just take it easy a little bit and let all those people pretty much hang themselves, because you and I and the rest of America are going to see these people for who they are now that almost everything's been exposed of who they are. And so, but I think on his defending or pushing for or changing things before campaign mode, I think he should, and this is only my view, he should just start nailing all of those people that are against him legislatively. He should nail them against the wall and say, here's what you're going to do. When I get reelected, we'll talk about it.
So you're saying just be more of a strong arm and just say, hey, this is how it's going to play out when I get reelected, and that's it. And I know a lot of people disagree with that and don't like that and don't think a president should be a strong-arm type of president. But if you look back in history of the presidents, we've had a lot of them that just slammed their hand on the desk and said, no, we're going to do this. And usually things turn out a little bit better until the Democrats, get most of the House. But it's just, I think he should. I think he should put his foot down and say, we're going into campaign mode. Here's what I'm doing right now. When I get reelected, we'll discuss it, and we'll go from there. And he's only got a short time before the midterms are here, and it's possible he's going to lose seats in both the House and the Senate, and he's going to lose any kind of advantage he has right now. I feel it's crunch time. He has to get something done, and a majority of what he wanted to get done in this first term has to be squeezed in before October, because something big always comes out in October to affect the election.
Yeah, exactly. And that's one of the things. That's why I say, a lot of people disagree or don't like the strong-arm president. I think he just has to go in and, pardon my French, kick ass and make things, work and, put off. Well, he's going to have to, decide what he wants to do. That's number one. What he wants to keep, what he wants to do after the election, all this. And then he's probably going to have to think about, okay, if we lose those 23 some odd seats in the House and Senate, what am I going to do to try to convince them to come onto my side? So he's got that to think about. So, so he's got a lot to do. And I think between now and October, which is not that far away comparatively to in the election cycle, he's got to just seriously kick the door down and just say, hello, this is what we're doing right now before this midterm, and after the midterms, we'll discuss it, and then I go into my reelection mode, and then whatever happens then, we'll discuss it after I'm reelected.
Who do you think's the prime opponent for Trump right now?
Oh, my goodness. Well, naturally, in the order of things, Mike Pence would run for president if he so chooses to do so.
Well, I meant more on the Democrat side. I apologize.
Oh, Democrat side? If Biden he's discussed his view as well and discussed about getting into the 2020 race. But I don't know.
Yeah, but isn't his time up? Isn't his time up? Because his time to run was right after Obama finished. He should have ran then. Now he's like it's old news, don't you think?
Yeah, it's after the fact, basically. Yeah, he wouldn't get 10% of the votes, I'm sure.
What about we're hearing Michelle O or Oprah? What about them?
Oh my God! Oh my God!
Would that scare you? Would a Michelle O scare you? And then can we could say to the left, well, you have your dynasty just like the Bushes, don't you?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, to answer your question, it does scare me. It scares me to no end that if they even run or decide to run within the next 6 months and put their paperwork through and get on the campaign trail, I can almost guarantee it's going to be laughable for both of those people to run.
Yeah, but with the current Me Too movement, I'm just thinking the left is going to go hard with this, and they're going to put probably a female African American there, so you won't be able to criticize the person, you won't be able to point fingers at the person, you won't be able to do anything, because if you do, you'll either be racist or you'll be sexist. I think that's where they're going to go. Unfortunately, is they're going to go in that way to kill some of the opposition before it even starts.
Yeah, they want to bury the opposition even before anything. Even the next 6 months, they're trying to distract and divide. They're creating chaos everywhere, in the world. They're causing, and this is the Democratic Party and the rhinos as well that support the Democratic Party. They're going to do everything they can to shove the rest of us into the corner and just tell us to shut up and turn around and just, you're in the corner, you're in timeout. Just go away now.
Because that is true democracy, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. Even though we're in a republic, the Democrats do like to call it a democracy, and that's because if you have the majority, the people that are the minority have to sit there and shut up and take it.
Exactly.
That's why they want democracy over a republic, by the way.
Exactly. If you, I don't know if you have heard Chris Ann Hall at all, but she's a constitutional attorney and she has her own show and stuff, and literally, and I've seen other constitutional attorneys literally say, we are a constitutional republic. We elect our officials. That's what we do. The Democrats want a democracy to where they themselves can install their own leaders, and the rest of us just get lost in the shuffle.
That's right. Well, Wayne, we're right up against the end of the show here, so why don't you tell everybody how they can find you on the internet, how they can check out your show, how they can find your website, and all that other good stuff.
Okay, you can find me on American Liberty Radio Podcast, which is on Facebook, American Liberty Radio Podcast. And you can go to the website at AmericanLibertyRadio.weebly.com. And that's about the best way you can find me.
Great. Awesome. Wayne, thank you so much for joining, man. This was such a fast-paced hour. We could talk for probably another 2 hours about this subject, but we just don't have time.
No, we don't.
So thanks again for joining me, and we'll talk to you soon, my friend, all right?
Okay, thanks, John.
T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We have liftoff. Tune in again next week. Same time, same space, same station.
Resistance is futile.